As noted on the agenda posted to the internet, we welcome public comment on the items in our agenda to ensure maximum opportunity to participate. Speakers representing themselves may speak for up to 2 minutes each, and those representing groups may speak for up to 4 minutes each. At this time, I'll ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the items on the agenda. As always, the directors have received their written materials in advance and are free to ask questions at any time during the meeting. The first item on today's agenda is the approval of the minutes from August 17th, 2017. Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. That was quick. I'll now ask the directors to approve the appointment of Holly Light to the Office of Executive Vice President, Real Estate Development and Planning of Empire State. And with that, I'm going to introduce Holly and put her on the spot to talk about herself for a minute or two. All I know is Holly has an extensive background in all things housing, parks, and emergency response. But that's probably just the tip of the iceberg. So Holly, with that introduction, it's great to have you at ESD. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Thank you. That pretty much covers it.
That was it?
Yeah, in a nutshell. Other than the legal degree that I sometimes pretend I don't have, depending on the day. No, it is great to be here. I'm in my 4th week and have been diving right in to get to know all of our projects and properties, and it's a great team. I have a great team, and you have a great team, so it's been an exciting 3 weeks already. My most recent job was I was a political appointee at HUD under the Obama administration. I was the regional administrator for New York and New Jersey, and I've worked for the city government in housing. I've worked for actually ESD before at LMDC, and so I've done all 3 governments, and I ran a not-for-profit that did parks advocacy in between working at the city and HUD. So it's really exciting to be here, and I look forward to working with you all.
Way to go. There was somewhere in my opening comments, there might have been a motion or something similar to a motion to approve Holly in this capacity. Are there?
Move. Second.
Great, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. I don't have a motion on this, and I don't know if we ever will need a motion on this, but, you know, there are times when people are doing responsibilities ahead of their job titles, and sometimes we catch up to that. So I want to say with great pride that Kevin Eunice, who's will assume the position of Executive Deputy Commissioner, and Lindsay, Executive Vice President, who have been serving, in my opinion, in similar or same capacity anyway, so thank you for that. And then maybe we have to approve that at some point in a future meeting or something like that. But
Want to do it now?
we could do it now if there's such a
I
thing.
make motion.
Can we do it now?
For both candidates.
Liz?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good job.
Were we supposed to do that?
You are the board.
All right. Where are we? Christine Christopoulos is up next, and she'll present the New York State Veterans Farmer Grant Fund guidelines for the director's consideration. Christine.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, we are asking the directors for authorization to adopt guidelines, make grants, delegation of authority, and authorization to take related actions on the new Veterans Farmer Grant Fund. The grant fund is $250,000 and will provide grants to veterans who own farms in New York State to expand their farm operations. The grants will be between $15,000 and $50,000 each, and the program is modeled after our new Farmers Grant Fund, except for there are 2 differences. The farms have to be owned, at least 50% owned by veterans, and there is no restriction on the number of years the veterans have been farming, where in the new Farmers Grant Fund, they can't be farming for more than 10 years. I'm happy to take any questions on the program.
Any questions for Christine?
Is there any other incentive for other farm workers?
For the veterans?
No, for other farmers. Besides
we
the
have
veterans?
a new Farmers Grant program that also provides grants up to $50,000. So this one is restricted to veterans.
Oh, okay.
And the new Farmers Grant program is $1 million. We've been administering that for several years now.
Other questions from the directors? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Rob, second. Cesar, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None? Great. Thank you, Christine.
Which only
Thank you.
raises the point. ESD does many things that I am not aware of.
And yet, I have put together a little thing for after, which I'll show you,
Okay.
about all the many things that we do. And by the way, ESD does many things that I too am yet not aware of. So, you know, it's a full agenda we've got going on here. Hey, Derek, how are you? All right, let me, before we move on to the reports, let me just give a couple of highlights. There are too many actually to go through since our last meeting, but I'll edit and do a few. Let's see, we were with the governor recently in Niagara Falls and celebrated the opening of a new $12.8 million Courtyard Marriott in Niagara Falls. Now, Niagara Falls is all about tourism. Niagara Falls anchors Western New York's tourism sector. This is the right by the former Robert Moses Highway, which has been in the process of being altered into the Niagara Scenic Parkway, reconnecting Niagara Falls to the waterfront. It was disconnected from the waterfront by the Robert Moses. Since all the work began some years ago on really reconnecting the city to the waterfront, 6 hotels near this parkway have opened up, 6 new hotels. Out of 8 that are currently under construction or recently completed, out of 10, which we know are others that are on the drawing board. So this has been, as part of our strategy in Niagara Falls, new hotel product, nicer hotel product. Niagara Falls had developed some reputation over time for, a very inexpensive vacation, nothing wrong with that, but there wasn't a broad range of hospitality product in Niagara Falls. Now we have some Marriott products for the first time. We have some Hilton products under construction. And that was a very purposeful strategy to try and upgrade the hotel product, which is definitely happening. In addition to mighty investments in $70 million in park infrastructure, Cave of the Winds, reclaiming the ecology of the gorge, Strawberry Island. There's been so many, the aquarium. There's just a huge focus on, that anchor of tourism in the western part of the state, and it's paying good dividends, so we're excited about that. Let's see, we have kicked off round 5, right, of Restore New York, which was launched last Friday. And the intent to apply deadline is Friday, October 13th, and applications are due by Friday, December 15th. $80 million in funding is available through this round of Restore New York, and $395 million has been allocated to Restore New York since its inception, including round 5. And
When was it, when did it start?
Several years ago, I want to say this is the 5th round of Restore New York funding in recent years.
It actually started in 2005 or 6. I think we had
Yeah, but it
6.
never was leveraged by
6, I
anything.
think. We had 3 years of $300 million, and then we've done 2 more rounds since then.
Good.
We had an exciting announcement in Rochester, or several actually. Paychex is adding 625 jobs in Rochester, which is a significant number, particularly upstate, so we're excited about that. It's a $58.4 million project, and they're expanding and renovating more than 300,000 square feet, and that project is expected to be completed in July of 2018, so we were pleased to do that. Here on Staten Island, you may have all seen the $100 million Amazon Fulfillment Center. 2,250 jobs. This is more of a distribution center, not a direct-to-consumer last-mile fulfillment center. We don't, this question has come up, we don't actually incentivize those sort of final-mile direct-to-consumer fulfillment centers. We treat that as retail, which would not typically qualify for ESD incentives. This is a broader regional distribution center, the way we support distribution centers in other parts of the state, be it Dick's Sporting Goods in the southern tier, or Dollar General, or American Tractor Supply in, Mohawk Valley or Central New York or other places. So distribution and logistics versus retail. Amazon does both. We don't support the retail side, so to speak, but we do support the logistics and distribution. So 2,250 jobs in Staten Island was a very exciting announcement. And then we were with the governor recently in Rochester again, announcing a $22.5 million state commitment to the Gorgon Institute, the data sciences, big data project with the U of R, in conjunction with Harris Corporation, which employs several thousand people. Harris is really has some Kodak technology originally developed for satellite imagery and surveillance, and this is, for U of R, big data is is big business. It's a real opportunity. This is an industry that's growing over 25% a year. There's several hundred jobs associated with it. And if you think about, the state's efforts to recruit next generation companies, high-tech businesses, and I think we're all familiar with kind of a high-profile search that Amazon is doing, having schools in big data that really have a specialty in big data. These are really about predictive modeling and scraping information from diverse sources and using that to your competitive advantage, and making good decisions and being successful in business. So whether it's our strength in big data or cybersecurity or cognitive computing, which we do well in RPI with IBM, or any number of things, you want to have university centers that really lead the country in some of these fields, and that's what New York has to offer, which is so important. And increasingly, even businesses, Danny Wegman has contributed $20 million to the center. You think of supermarket as kind of a traditional, maybe low-tech industry, but there are no low-tech industries anymore, right? I mean, every industry is finding competitive advantages in how they use data and how do they predict and how do they direct products to the, ahead of demand, and, how do they take advantage of information and use it to make good decisions. So I think everything from supermarkets to Amazon can benefit from the types of strength we have in these industries. And so we were excited to see that. This was part of the Finger Lakes Upstate Revitalization Initiative. And Harris is also contributing many tens of millions of dollars to the initiative through some of their intellectual property and engagement. And it's just, I think, good news all in all for Rochester, Finger Lakes, and all of the state of New York. And there was a recent announcement as well. This is my favorite topic, wineries. 100 wineries and farm wineries now operating in the Finger Lakes, which account for 25% of the total wineries operating in the Empire State. So if you like wine, visit the Finger Lakes and check out all 100 wineries. All right.
Same day.
What's that?
Not the same day.
But don't drive doing it. We have Uber upstate now, so it's good. Okay, before we start the presentations, Edwin is going to present a summary of the projects. Edwin.
Thank you. Good morning. The directors are going to be considering 2 regional council awards and 6 discretionary awards today, totaling $51,675,000 in grants. These projects will take place in the Southern Tier, Finger Lakes, Mid-Hudson, New York City, North Country, and Capital regions. Leverage over $130 million of additional investment, retain 675 jobs, and create 185 jobs in the state. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Edwin. Okay, we'll move to the project section, and I'll note that the first 2 projects are from the Southern Tier and will be presented by Donna Howell. And Donna, are you on the line?
Yes, good morning.
Okay, take it away, thanks.
All right, the directors are requested to approve a $1.8 million grant to the town of Nichols to be used for a portion of the cost of construction and the purchase of machinery and equipment for the renovation and expansion of a wastewater treatment facility in Nichols, which is in Tioga County. The town's existing wastewater treatment facility was undersized and unable to support the operations of the proposed container manufacturing facility, which is Crown Cork and Steel, which would bring a $130 million investment and more than 160 jobs to Tioga County. The new modern wastewater treatment facility accommodates existing demand for treatment and supply and also the new manufacturing plant. In an effort to secure the necessary financing to offset the high cost of infrastructure improvements required to bring the large-scale manufacturing facility to the southern tier, the town approached ESD to assist with the upgrades and expansion of the wastewater facility. The town was awarded a grant for infrastructure improvements through the Upstate Revitalization Initiative, which was our Round 5 funding. This project is aligned with the Southern Tier Regional Plan, and without ESD assistance, the town would not have been able to accommodate the demand for water treatment and supply from that new large manufacturing facility. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Donna, why don't you go through both of your projects, and then we'll see if we have any questions.
Sure. The second one is Encodema. The directors are requested to approve a $400,000 grant for Encodema 3D, which is going to be used for a portion of the cost of purchasing machinery and equipment for the expansion of a metal 3D printing and additive manufacturing company in Freeville, which is in Tompkins County. Encodema was formed in 2014 and is now a leader in metal 3D printing and metal design and production work. The company invested and expanded to provide 3D metal printing capabilities for manufacturing customers. Encodema 3D assists manufacturing customers with the development of their products from prototype all the way to production. Encodema submitted a proposal under Round 5 of the CFA, which is also funded through URI, to assist with an expansion. This is a Regional Council Capital Fund grant and also an REDC priority project. This project is aligned with the region's comprehensive blueprint under the Upstate Revitalization Initiative to invest in advanced manufacturing. The company is in an emerging sector in the Southern Tier's economy and is expected to continue to grow after the initial expansion. And without ESD assistance, the company would not have been able to purchase the additional machine, which has allowed it to expand their customer base and plans for continued future growth.
Okay, so let's see if there's any questions. We'll take both of these items, Nichols and in the village of Freeville and Encodema Upstate Revitalization Project. Are there any questions from the directors on either of these two projects?
Is there not another state agency that supports wastewater facilities?
Yeah, go on.
I didn't hear that.
Is there another state agency that supports wastewater facilities?
Yeah, there are, I believe it's DEC. I could be wrong, but there are wastewater treatment facility programs through the CFA. But this one was, I think, more appropriate for ESD because it supported this large manufacturing facility. I believe it created 160 jobs in Nichols, so it was actually much more associated with the economic development of a business investment, which is why I think that the council decided to put it as a priority project for ESD grant funding.
Okay.
It's not wastewater treatment for a community or a city.
It was attached to an expansion project. Any other questions from directors? Any comment from the public on either of these two items? Is there a motion to approve both of them?
Move it.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, thanks, Donna.
Thank you.
Vinny Esposito, Finger Lakes Regional Director, will present the North American Breweries Capital Project. Vinny?
Good morning, Howard and directors. Yes, I only have one for you this morning, but lest you think we only like wineries here in the Finger Lakes, we're also talking about a brewery, specifically the largest brewery. So we're very proud of that. The directors this morning are being asked to approve two capital grants for the same project, totaling $5 million from the URI program for North American breweries for a portion of the cost of construction renovation of modernization of their Genesee brewing facility in downtown Rochester. This project will invest $50 million in a multi-phase to create what they now call their Eco Brewing District. The first phase is a brewery modernization of the long-standing facility, which is one of the longest continuing operating breweries in the country. The second phase will expand and update their very popular brew house, restaurant, and tasting room to create a larger event space and learning center to allow microbrewers to practice and learn their craft at this brewery. In order to make the project feasible, ESD offered an incentive package of $5 million in capital grants as well as $4.5 million in performance-based Excelsior tax credits. This project was part of the Finger Lakes Forward URI plan. It was a priority that hit multiple strategies, obviously the ag and food strategy, which is a pillar in the Finger Lakes Forward plan, but it also has significant tourism, downtown redevelopment, and anti-poverty strategy focus. In particular, I want to call your attention to the fact that of the $5 million in grants you're approving, $3 million are for a specific, what we call anti-poverty incentive. That is the first time we have used this, at least in the Finger Lakes. It's a focal point of the Finger Lakes Forward anti-poverty plan, and it allows for Genesee Brewery to make a commitment to hire half of the new positions. 128 new jobs will be created by this project. 64 of them will be people impacted by poverty. And if they do that, if they achieve those numbers, they'll receive this additional capital grant incentive to help train and onboard those workers and obviously allow them to keep working in a sustainable environment. This project has will be fully completed in May 2020, but we're bringing it to you now because phase one, which is the modernization of the brewery, is nearing completion at the end of this year. In total, the project will retain 526 jobs and create the 128 I mentioned.
Okay, thanks, Vinny. Any questions from the directors for Vinny on this Genesee Brewing project? It's a fabulous site right on the Genesee River, very historic. It's really cool.
Classic brand name, too.
Yep.
And I like poor people being hired.
That's always good.
Exactly.
Any comments from the
Great
public on this item? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you, Derek. Hilda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Vinny. Megan Taylor from the Mid-Hudson is up and has an item. I apologize if I mispronounce this. Polytalix Capital. Megan?
Yes, thank you, Howard, and good morning, everyone. So I am presenting today a $475,000 Economic Development Fund grant for Polytalix expansion and job creation project in the village of Walden in Orange County. Polytalix invested just over $3 million to relocate from rented facilities in Rock Tavern, just right down the road from their former facility, where they were located for 21 years, to a company-owned 60,000 square foot facility on 31 acres. The company was offered assistance from the Grow New Jersey a tax credit program, but their decision to remain in New York State was due to ESD's offer of assistance, which included a $475,000 grant and up to $325,000 in Excelsior Jobs Program tax credits. The company has purchased, renovated, and equipped their new building in Walden in order to accommodate anticipated growth in new profit centers such as 3D printing, CAD technology, and 5-axis CNC milling. The project will retain 80 existing jobs and create 13 jobs, of which Polytalix has already created 5. Polytalix is a company whose origins began in the late 1960s and is one of the largest and best regarded art foundries in the world. They partner with their suppliers to combine cutting-edge technology with old world craft and tradition, endeavoring to give artists satisfaction and seeking continuous improvement in their employees' skills and craftsmanship. At Polytalix, creating and making art is led by the quest for technological excellence, superb craftsmanship, and understanding and respect for artists and their work. The company has cast and fabricated thousands of sculptures for hundreds of artists across the world since the 1960s. They even manufacture the Oscar statuettes that are given to the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences every year. There are dozens of art foundries in the Northeast and even more across the nation, but there are few that have the facilities to produce sculptures at the size and scope that Polytalix is able to. The renovations to the existing building in Walden will employ 23 construction workers during the course of the project, or have created 23 construction workers during the course of the project, and will be fully complete in October of this year. This project very closely aligns with the MHRADC's plan to retain and stimulate more mature industries while continuing to make investments in innovative products and manufacturing capabilities. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Megan on this Polytalix project?
Megan, have you been there
I have.
Isn't
is
it terrific?
absolutely wonderful.
Isn't it great?
It's a beautiful place. If any of you are in the area at any time, I'm sure we could get a tour. You would love it.
It is worth a trip, what these guys do in molten metal. It's absolutely staggering.
Any other questions or comments from directors? Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to
Move
approve
it.
this item? Rob, second. Derek, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you, Megan. Next
Thank
up,
you.
from the New York City region, Joe Taswell will present an item, Voice Technologies Capital. Joe.
Good morning, directors. The directors are being asked to approve a $1 million grant for voice technologies to be used for renovations and the purchase of new equipment in connection with a $32 million expansion project. This project was designated as a regional council priority in 2015 as part of the council's focus on new technologies and advanced manufacturing. Boyce was founded in 2007 by Charles Boyce, an entrepreneur and engineer. The company, an employer of 86 jobs currently, is a designer and manufacturer of innovative public safety communication systems, including radio and wireless systems, public address, intercoms, security alarm systems, trains dispatch, digital signage, and other technologies. The company makes the Help Point system that is being used in subway stations across New York City. Since its founding, the company has primarily served the New York City region. However, the company is now expanding into the Northeast and other regions, developing new customers. The company's new 50,000 square foot facility located in Long Island City, Queens, will allow the company to consolidate existing operations and new growth while also permitting the company to lower its operation costs. In addition to the $1 million grant awarded through Round 5 of the Regional Council Initiative, the company was also awarded over $1.635 million in Excelsior tax credits. The company has already created 28 of 41 new jobs that it agreed to in our offer incentive. The project is expected to be complete in October. Thanks.
Any questions from the directors for Joe on this voice technology project? Any comments from the public? Oh, I'm sorry, Cesar.
Just how many more jobs are being created as a result of this grant?
Well, they were under a commitment to create 41 jobs, and they have already created 28. So the balance would be.
When you say they were already committed as a result of a prior grant, you say they were already committed?
No, I'm saying that in the initial incentive, there was a retention of 58 jobs and 41 new jobs that were to be created. They have already created 28 of the 41 jobs. So
Okay.
they're well on their way.
Okay.
And a lot of times the incentives are spread over some number of years, right? So you don't create all the jobs immediately, but you're obligated to over some period of time.
That's correct.
Maybe it's
Right.
5 years or 10
That's
years.
correct, yeah. Typically with Excelsior, it's a 10-year window.
Right.
But I think they will achieve their commitment far sooner.
Other questions or comments from directors? Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve this voice item? Derek, Hilda, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Joe. We have a project from the North Country, which will be presented by Steve Hunt. Steve? Steve, are you on the line? Steve Hunt?
Oh, I'm sorry, Howard. I had it on mute. Good morning, and good morning to the board. Today I'm presenting one project in the North Country awarded through the Regional Council process. This is a Round 3 Regional Council project, and we are providing a $4.5 million grant to Clinton County for a portion of the cost of construction of a $54 million airport terminal modernization and expansion project. The project is substantially complete, and the airport will now offer modern, state-of-the-art air terminal facilities for air travelers and international connections for the North Country region. Capacity for employments, which are now approximately 150,000 annually, will expand to 300,000 annually at the completion of this project.
Any questions for Steve on this airport expansion modernization project? Any comment from the public on this item? Is there a motion to approve?
Move it.
Second.
Thank you, Derek. Rob, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Steve. Kevin Hansen, representing ESD's Capital, sorry, you don't represent ESD's Capital Region Office, but you have an item with respect to NFX Capital Project in Albany. Go on, Kevin.
I do. Thank you, Howard. Good morning. Today, the corporation's directors are requested to approve a $38.5 million capital grant to Fuller Road Management Corporation. They are also requested to make findings and determinations pursuant to Section 10G of the UDC Act, authorize the adoption of a proposed general project plan, and take related actions. The purpose of today's grant is to reimburse Fuller Road for costs associated with the design, construction, and recent improvement of the NanoFab Extension Building on SUNY Poly's campus in Albany. As a reminder, Fuller Road Management Corporation is a 501c25 nonprofit real estate holding corporation that was created by the Research Foundation for SUNY and what is now the SUNY Poly Foundation. The specific subject of this grant is one of the most important facilities on the Albany campus. It's known as the NanoFab Extension Building, or sometimes as NFX. Constructed in 2013 with approximately 50,000 square feet of high-tech cleanroom space, NFX is one of the newest SUNY Poly buildings on campus, and it is the site of some of the most advanced research and development within the semiconductor industry that is occurring in North America. Much of the NFX facility is occupied by the Center for Semiconductor Research, which is a long-term, multi-phase joint R&D cooperative program on future computer chip technology, with industry tenants including IBM, Advanced Micro Devices, Sony, Toshiba, Tokyo Electron, and Applied Materials. At present, the CSR currently employs an estimated 369 semiconductor industry workers, and recently IBM, through its partnership with the CSR, created the world's first 5-nanometer size chip, which will continue to drive the semiconductor industry profits by shrinking chip size, lowering the price per transistor, and advancing chip technology. The balance of the NFX facility, including certain cleanroom areas, is currently vacant, and Fuller Road is in active discussions with additional industry partners, a number of whom have expressed serious interest in leasing space at the facility and adding to the jobs that it supports. Staff is recommending the approval of this grant because it will financially support Fuller Road as it seeks to reposition certain NFX spaces and attract new industry tenants and projects, as well as to reduce FRMC's overall financial burden and debt obligations. Funds for the grant are provided under the state's Strategic Projects Program, which was included in this year's 2017-2018 state budget, with the purpose of supporting, among other items, grants related to strategic economic development projects and initiatives of SUNY Poly. I will now take any questions that the directors may have on this item.
Any questions for Kevin on this item? This, as he pointed out, is the kind of highest tech buildings that we have on the campus. It's really the bleeding edge facility on research and support of the semiconductor industry. It's one of those projects when ESD got involved more actively in some of these SUNY Poly projects that we identified shortly after getting involved as really being a high priority funding item, which is why, you know, you've got this strategic capital line of about $200 million in this year's budget. Part of that was always intended for these upgrades to this facility at $38.5 million. So it's good to see it coming forward. Any other comments or questions from the directors on this item? Any comments from the public on this item? Is there a motion to approve? Cesar, thank you. Derek, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thanks, Kevin. Next up, Simone Bethune and Tom Condescenny will present the September non-discretionary projects consent calendar. Simone?
Thank you. I will be presenting the first three items on the non-discretionary calendar, and Tom will present, the first three, and Tom will present the fourth. So the first item for director's consideration is a $300,000 Senate-sponsored capital grant to the Fulton County Center for Regional Growth. This grant will provide funding assistance to establish a business incubator facility promoting startup companies. The Fulton County Center, established in 2012, has been tasked by county leaders to focus efforts to attract, retain, and assist employers in Fulton County and its neighboring communities. The center expects the project to lead to at least 30 jobs at the companies which will be taking part in the business incubator. The project will also help to reduce the commercial vacancy rate in downtown Gloversville and will see completion in June 2018. The second project is a $500,000 Senate-sponsored grant to Clinton County's Plattsburgh International Airport, located at the former Plattsburgh U.S. Air Force Base. In 2014, the county determined a need to upgrade, expand, and modernize all facilities at the airport to accommodate more passengers and provide additional gates for flights. This grant will reimburse costs to design and construct a 30,000 square foot Federal Aviation Administration inspection station. The station will operate Customs and Border Protection services and serve as a port of entry for international travel and international cargo. The project was complete in June 2017. And the third item directors are asked to approve is $6 million of a $25 million executive-sponsored appropriation from the Transformative Investment Program to Hofstra University. Hofstra will use the $6 million grant to complete the planning and design phase of a new state-of-the-art 65,000 square foot building. The project reflects an increase in student interest and a need for skilled graduates to meet New York's growing demand for applied science and engineering specialists. The remaining $19 million of the appropriation, representing the construction portion, will be presented to the directors at a future meeting once SECRA requirements are in place. The planning and design phase is expected to complete between 2018 and 2019, with construction to be complete in 2023. Thank you.
Thanks, Simone. Tom, why don't you go, and then we'll see if we have any questions.
Thank you and good morning. The directors are being asked to approve a permanent loan of up to $138 million to be used for a portion of the capital cost of Phase 1 renovations to transform the Kingsbridge Armory into the Kingsbridge National Ice Center. Phase 1 includes the development of 5 ice rinks with supporting services. Details of the loan terms are included in your materials. The borrower, KNIC Properties LP, was formed in 2014 with the sole purpose of developing the Armory. In 2013, the New York City Council approved the development of the Kingsbridge National Ice Center. The proposed leased silver project includes 9 ice rinks, approximately 64,000 square feet of related program space, including wellness, off-ice training center, curling rinks, and lockers, equipment storage. The proposed ice rinks are intended for use by neighborhood students, residents, high school and college leagues, open skating times, instructional skating, adult professional and non-professional hockey teams, figure skating, speed skating, and other ice events. KNIC has executed a long-term lease for the Kingsbridge Armory, and the New York City Economic Development Corporation is holding the lease in escrow until KNIC obtains $158 million in construction financing commitments. KNIC will seek a bank for construction financing, and ESD will provide $138 million permanent loan when the project is substantially complete. These materials amend the previous $30 million approval to switch the funding from construction to permanent financing. Thank you for your time.
Great. So we have 4 non-discretionary items. Are there any questions or comments from directors on either of these or any of these 4 items?
On the Kingsbridge Armory, what is a permanent loan? I did not understand.
Tom, talk about the loan aspect of it.
So the permanent loan is basically, once the construction is complete, it's the loan that kind of takes out the construction debt. So they'll go to a bank to finance the construction. Once the construction is complete, this permanent loan will essentially refinance that construction loan.
But is it a loan? I mean, it
Yes.
is repaid?
Yes.
It's a loan, and it was intended as a loan and stated as a loan in the budget.
Correct.
It's a term loan.
It's, all right.
Any other questions or comments on any of these 4 items? Any comments from the public on any of these 4 items? Is there a motion to approve them all? Thank you, Derek. Is there a second? Thank you, Hilda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you. We are moving on to Clayton Bash and Brian Keel, present New York State Innovation Venture Fund item. Clayton.
Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to ask the board for authorization for the New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund to co-invest up to $1 million in Vital Vio in its current preferred stock round of $3 million. Vital Vio is a Troy, New York startup that has commercialized IP from RPI to develop an LED light solution that disinfects surfaces safely. Rather than destroying cell membranes of all the living cells as intense UV light does when used to disinfect, Vital Vio's patented application of a specific light wave length kills only the bacteria of mold, fungus, and various other bacteria, and is safe for humans and pets. Colleen Costello, the CEO and co-founder, has closed contracts with leading light manufacturers and distributors focused in healthcare, education, transportation, and now with sales through Home Depot for home kitchens and bathrooms. The company's manufacture of its specific products and prototype fixtures is done in the Mid-Hudson area at Newburgh Metals. We wanted to note that Bell Capital, a venture capital firm that invests in early-stage companies with female founders and which has a extensive portfolio of healthcare companies, is investing alongside us in this round. Are there any questions?
Clayton, we're going to have Brian present the second item, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Great.
Brian?
Good morning. We're seeking approval from the directors for a $300,000 investment as part of a $2 million financing round in one of our existing portfolio companies, Seamless Docs. Seamless Docs, a company based in New York City, has developed a software platform that converts paper forms and PDF-based documents into user-friendly, interactive online processes. The company is initially targeting the governmental sector and has secured contracts with 270 government agencies. Since the last round of financing, which we participated in, we invested in $1.75 million as part of a $7 million round of financing back in 2016. Since that round of financing, the company has proven out its sales process and is reaching critical mass in the marketplace, penetrating over 50% of the largest cities in the United States. Additionally, the company recently launched a major pilot with the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles, which it estimates will impact 4 million submissions per year and lead to a $30 savings for each submission. The company recently implemented 2 additions to its core platform: Seamless Labs, a government website builder, and a government relationship manager, the first ever CRM product built specifically for government relationships with its citizens. It helps manage workflows and data to provide better transparency among citizens, vendors, and employees. These additions expand the functionality of the platform and improve adoption and the usage of the platform within client organizations. Currently, the company employs 31 staff in New York State, an increase of 25 since the time of the original investment. Company plans to expand and hire 5 more employees before the end of 2017 and an additional 12 employees in 2018. This financing is intended to help the company further scale its sales and marketing efforts and continue its growth. Any questions on this opportunity?
Any questions on the one investment, the bacteria killing investment in Troy?
Friendly bacteria.
Friendly, and friendly to humans, not to the bacteria. And the document, Seamless Document Company in New York City. Any questions from the directors? Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve these 2 venture investments? Thank you, Robert and Derek. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Next up, this is the wide-ranging ESD. Samantha Baldak, and she'll present 2 market order program contracts. Sam.
Thanks. The directors are requested to approve a marketing and promotion contract with the New York Apple Association for $2,084,200 funded through the Apple marketing order. The term of this contract is 1 year. New York Apple Association will provide marketing and promotion of the New York State Apple industry through activities related to consumers, retailers, food service, and the U.S. Apple Association. In addition, the New York Apple Association will provide information services to growers and consumers, support Apple industry research, and participate in the U.S. Apple Export Council. And the second project, the directors are requested to approve an Apple research and development contract with the United States Department of Agriculture for $17,400, funded through the Apple Research and Development Program. The term of this contract is April 1st, 2016 to September 30th, 2017. Topics of research include determining which apple rootstock grows best in specific types of soil across New York State, and improving the breeding and selection of these rootstocks. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, say on this marketing and promotion, clearly it's not a big number, but it's a 1-year deal. Shouldn't it be a multi-year deal to keep this thing? I mean, are we gonna be seeing this next year
Yes.
as well?
Yeah.
Are we only allowed to do 1-year deals
Yes.
on marketing projects and that kind of thing?
I think so.
Yeah,
Okay.
the way that it works is that the advisory board for each of these marketing orders has to approve the proposal and budget every year.
Okay.
And so they do a reassessment, which is essentially the amount that each of the growers and producers pays that year. So really the assessment is based on how much they project that they're going to make, so that
Okay.
it's, so if it's a drought year, they're not out.
Okay, I just wondered.
Sure.
So we'll see this next year.
Yes, you will.
It's apple picking time, so probably appropriate, I guess, huh?
We'll look forward to seeing it again next year. Any other questions or comments on the apple and other sort of ag? All right, any comments from anyone opposed to apples in general? All right, any comments from the public? No. Is there a motion to approve
Moved,
these?
yes,
Thank
second.
you. Everyone moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Sam, you got big support there. Michael Evans will now present the Moynihan Station Development Corporation item. Michael.
Thank you, Howard. This item is related to amending an existing contract that we have with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. The directors may recall that the the corporation, MSDC and ESD, entered into a consulting services agreement with the Port Authority back in 2010. This was intended to support the corporation's efforts for design and construction of Phase 1 of the project. It was actually a requirement imposed by the U.S. Department of Transportation to supplement ESD's own capital delivery expertise. The port team was essentially embedded or seconded within ESD for the duration of the project and has performed in an exemplary manner. As the directors are aware, Phase 1 opened successfully on June 15th to wide acclaim. And the port team was also instrumental in helping ESD complete final design on the train hall project. We'd like to amend this contract to ensure that the same port team that worked on Phase 1 and gained an enormous amount of expertise on the Penn Station operations, on the railroad operating environment, and worked with the same Skanska team that is now working on the train hall, that this port team can stay involved in Phase 2, again embedded within ESD and reporting to ESD through our reporting structures, but working on the day-to-day management of the construction of the train hall. We would amend the contract to add an authorization up to $3.3 million. That is an estimated $2.75 million cost for their staff time, and a 20% contingency because they may bring on some on-call consultants at various times if they need to for certain inspections and other things. This is very similar, and in fact almost identical to the arrangement we held under Phase 1 and would be amendment to that contract. Any questions?
Thanks, Michael. Any questions from the directors on this Moynihan item? Derek?
What was the size of the Phase 1 contract? You know that?
The Phase 1 contract was 4.5 million. We also then added about $1 million to that because the Port Authority handled special inspections for phase one. Under the train hall project, the special inspections are actually part of the development agreement and are being handled by the developer. And the port team actually came in substantially under budget on phase one, so I have modified the budget here, I think, to be a little bit more efficient.
So that's how you got the kind of the $2 million number?
Yes.
Yeah.
How's it going down there?
It's going very well, very well. Skanska's, all the demolition within the train hall area is complete. They've already started installing new steel. We have begun work down at the track and platform level, cutting openings to the platforms. The first escalators will start going into the platforms early next year. The steel for the skylight is in fabrication, so things are moving along nicely. Skanska has over 100 engineers on site every day and hundreds of construction workers, and it's continuing to ramp up every day.
It's going to be a huge project.
Remarkable.
That skylight structure is going to be really, really something.
Other questions?
Great book, by the way.
So is it-
Conquering Gotham.
Yeah, fantastic book.
Fabulous book about Pennsylvania Railroad and the building of the Penn Station.
We're writing the final chapter now.
Good point.
Touche. Any other questions or comments for Michael on this item? Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve? Derek, Rob, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Our next item will be presented by Steve Golick in Buffalo, and he'll present the first of our administrative actions, this one related to the land bank. Steve.
Yeah, hi. We're here asking the board to approve Wayne County's land bank applications. I'm sure the board's well aware of this. We've been through it about 20 times before. The statute allows local municipalities to create not-for-profit corporations to deal with vacant and abandoned properties. To date, ESD has approved a total of 21. Wayne County would be 22. The statute allows ESD to approve up to 25, so we're asking the board to approve Wayne County today. Just one quick note, there was a link in the board materials if anybody's interested about how the New York Land Bank program is doing. The Center for Community Progress, in cooperation with New York State Land Bank Association, issued a report earlier this year. It gives a pretty good grade for how the land banks are doing in New York State. So we're asking, again, the board to approve Wayne County's land bank application. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the directors on Wayne County Land Bank? Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve? Derek, second. Thank you, Hilda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you, Steve. Rachel Schatz will present a contract for environmental consulting services related to a parcel or parcels at Belmont Park. Rachel.
Good morning. The directors are being requested to authorize the corporation to enter into a contract for environmental consultant services in preparing an environmental impact statement, or EIS, for developing select parcels at Belmont Park in Elmont, New York. ESD has issued a request for proposals to develop property within Belmont Park, a major thoroughbred horse racing facility that first opened in 1905 and was completely redeveloped from 1964 to 1968. The property for development is comprised of Site A and Site B, totaling approximately 36 acres. Site A, currently used for surface parking, contains a total of approximately 8 acres. Site B, also currently used for surface parking, contains a total of approximately 28 acres. ESD is the lead agency for purposes of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, or SEQRA. It is anticipated that such SEQRA review will require the preparation of an EIS, a technical document covering a large number of environmental analysis areas. The EIS will analyze the potential impacts of and any requisite mitigation for the proposed project. The analyses to be undertaken and the production of the EIS require the specialized expertise of an environmental consultant to meet the SEQRA standards for this required environmental review. ESD solicited bids from 3 of the environmental assessment firms on ESD's pre-qualified list of consultants for on-call services. Of the 3, 2 responded, with one of the other firms joining the AKRF team as a subconsultant. While both proposals were responsive to the bid solicitation and demonstrated an understanding of the scope of services requested, the ESD Selection Committee chose the AKRF proposal based on its thoroughness, demonstrated knowledge and expertise of the firm and team of subconsultants, and the number and type of projects cited for relevant experience. AKRF is a New York City firm with vast experience in preparing SECRA-compliant documentation for similar large and complex development projects and sports and entertainment facilities, and has satisfactorily performed similar work for ESD for many years. The contract term will be for 2 years. Payment for this effort will not exceed $2 million, inclusive of reimbursables and contingency tasks. All costs for this contract will be reimbursed by the project developer. And there is an overall MWE participation goal of 30% for this contract. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. Are there any comments or questions from the directors on this item?
Why don't we need parking at Belmont Park anymore?
Why what?
Why do we not need these parking areas for the park? I mean, this is parking area for Belmont Park?
Rachel, can you address the question?
The surface parking lots that are what Site A and Site B are currently used for. Any proposal will need to address where replacement parking or parking to accommodate the events at Belmont Park will be, incorporated into their plan. So parking is definitely a key part of this assessment.
So it's a requirement that any submission accommodates parking.
If I can jump in, the request for proposal does ask respondents to explain where they're going to be placing parking for the uses that are anticipated in the RFP. That is a requirement of the RFP.
Okay.
I wanted to know if you were eliminating parking, and you're saying no. That
so the parking it's just used once a year for the Belmont Stakes.
Yes.
And there is land that's north of the racetrack that is used temporarily. Basically it's a dirt area that's used for parking, and that will continue to be used for parking.
Are there any other questions or comments? Does anyone know who won this year's Belmont Stakes? Not a single person in the room.
I know we didn't have a Triple Crown winner.
That's right.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Second.
You gonna
Thank
second
you.
that, pal?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good.
All right.
Even though
All in
we didn't
favor?
get a quote from town meeting.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you, Rachel. John Byer will present the next 2 admin items. John?
Thank you and good morning. The Division of the Budget and the Legislature agreed to close several correctional facilities operated by the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision of New York, DOCS. Accordingly, in October 2010, the Sullivan Annex, a correctional facility, was closed. The Sullivan Annex consists of multiple buildings and parking lots located on 3 parcels in the county of Sullivan and the town of Fallsburg, New York. The specific buildings owned by ESD were conveyed to the corporation in 1995 to provide security for certain bonds of the corporation. The balance of the Sullivan Annex is already owned by the Office of General Services, OGS. Chapter 501 of the laws of 2015, which I'm referring to as the Fallsburg Act, provides that notwithstanding any provisions of law to the contrary, OGS is specifically authorized to dispose of the Sullivan Annex to the town of Fallsburg, subject to the condition that such conveyance shall not adversely affect any federal income tax exemption of the interest on the bonds that finance the facility. The Fallsburg Act further provides that the lands conveyed pursuant to the Act shall be used for the purposes of the town of Fallsburg, and upon termination of such use, title to the facility shall revert to the state. DOCS and OGS have requested that ESD convey its portion of the Sullivan Annex to OGS so that OGS can convey the entire facility to the town of Fallsburg in accordance with the Fallsburg Act. With respect to the bonds, The corporation purchased legal title to its portion of the Sullivan Annex and certain other correctional facilities with a portion of the proceeds of correctional capital facilities revenue bonds issued by the corporation in order to finance the construction, rehabilitation, and construction of correctional facilities, including the Sullivan Annex. The corporation leased its portion of the Sullivan Annex to OGS, which subleased these facilities to docks. Rental payments under the lease and sublease secured and were the source of payment of the debt service on these bonds. All of these bonds have been paid, but the corporation continues to hold legal title to its portion of the annex, subject to these month-to-month tenancies on the same terms as the lease and sublease. OGS and docks, as owners of the Sullivan Annex and lessees, continue to maintain it. Although the original bonds have been paid off, refunding bonds have been issued to refund these facilities and bonds, which are still outstanding. Accordingly, an opinion by bond counsel will be necessary to ensure that any such bonds remain in compliance with federal tax laws and that the proposed transaction will not impair the obligations of the holders of these bonds in accordance with the Fallsburg Act. As a transfer, the corporation is subject to the property disposition guidelines. Section 2897 of the Public Authorities Law requires public authorities such as ESD to conform to multiple requirements prior to disposing of property. However, the Public Authorities Law also provides that OGS and ESD may enter into an agreement providing that OGS may dispose of ESD property. In such event, OGS would be bound by the disposition terms set forth in the Public Authorities Law. However, in this transaction, once OGS owns the Sullivan Annex, the Fallsburg Act, as described above, will supersede the provisions of the Public Authorities Law requiring OGS to comply with the property disposition provisions. Accordingly, OGS will follow the provisions of the Fallsburg Act with respect to its disposition of the Sullivan Annex to the town of Fallsburg. Accordingly, the directors are now being requested to authorize the transfer of the portion of the Sullivan Annex owned by ESD, authorize the termination of the related month-to-month tenancies, authorize the corporation to take all related actions, and obtain the bond counsel opinion as required by the Fallsburg Act.
Okay, thanks, Jonathan. Any questions or comments from the directors on these two items that are interrelated?
Well, actually, that was only the first item.
Oh.
Sorry.
That was just one item?
I know it's the last item, but I didn't control the order.
Well, that was so long. Let me just ask if there's any, because we'll forget. Let me just ask if there's any questions or comments on Jonathan's first item. Any no. Go on.
All right, I will try to make the second item a little faster. ESD recently sold the Fountain property, 2 vacant parcels that were part of the Brooklyn Development Center, which was under the jurisdiction of the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities and owned by the Dormitory Authority. The firm of Showman, Updike, and Kaufman, LLP, was retained for the sale in 2016 when the firm of Gonzalez Salgio dissolved and could no longer represent the corporation. The amounts authorized under that retainer have been exhausted. An amendment of the retention is necessary to pay an outstanding balance and obtain additional legal services to ensure the phasing of the development, affordable housing units, and the construction schedule and other obligations set forth in a restrictive declaration are properly implemented. Council would also be authorized to subcontract for environmental legal counsel and environmental consultants as necessary, but only up to amounts included within the recommended overall $150,000 contract limit. Council would also coordinate documentation with other involved agencies. The firm is on the corporation's list of pre-qualified counsel and is a New York State certified women-owned business. The term of the contract will be 3 years. The maximum amount of the contract will be $150,000, and counsel would work at ESD standard rates. Based on the foregoing, I recommend the approval of the requested actions to authorize the retention of this law firm.
Okay, property transfer and legal services. Any questions or comments on either of these two items? Any comments from the public on either of these two items? Is there a motion to approve both items? Thanks, Derek Sassar. Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Yada, yada. I think we're done. Is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you. Thank you all.